not a glamorous story, but it's the way it occurred for me, sitting on tarmac in DC, and I was getting ready. I had just come from Kyrgyzstan, and I was getting ready to fly back up to New York, and I was on this little plane, and all of a sudden I heard a voice that said, "Get off the plane." And I was like, huh? What's this, And then I realized no one was speaking. Then I heard it again, "Get off the plane."
Oh my.
And I thought, and so I started, I was like, well, wait a minute, I can't get off the plane. If I get off the plane, someone's gonna ask why. And if I say, well, something's wrong, it's, all chaos is
Yeah.
gonna ensue. And so that was the first time. And so I made a deal. I just said, look, I can't get off the plane without everyone else getting off the plane.
Welcome to Conversation for the Soul. I'm Linda Christine, and today I talk with Allannah Capwell. And this gal is pretty amazing. She went from university professor to being an embodied consciousness guide, and she is a channel. And she has some very profound and beautiful stories of her awakening to share with us all. Pretty seriously profound in my book. And we also talk about the current energies. We talk about where we're going the rest of this year. We talk about how we can deal with all of these changes and everything that's coming up. Her guides share some beautiful information with us, as well as a beautiful guided meditation that she channels at the end by her guides. This is something that you can use in your daily practice or in your continual ongoing practice. So let's get started with Allannah. But first, wait, like, share, subscribe. Please like, share, subscribe so people like Allannah can get seen, because stories of people's awakening and people going through their life and trying to deal with all of this stuff is how we all learn, by sharing. So like, share, subscribe, and we'll get started now with Allannah. Welcome, Allannah. I am so grateful to have you here with us today. We worked hard to get this going.
We did. And I'm grateful to be here. Yeah.
It's all such in divine timing. Now,
Time, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Suddenly, it struck me that we had first initially scheduled it for towards the beginning of the month. And I thought, well, of course, after this last week, and towards the end of the month, it makes perfect sense.
And I want to talk about all of that. But first, I want to get to know you a little bit more.
Sure.
I just scanned through your Facebook really quick before we got on here, and I see you probably have a very interesting story of how you came to be step into your conscious awareness, because you used to be a professor.
Yes, I did, and an administrator.
So what turn of events led to that big twist and turn in your life?
It's odd. I think it was always there, but I sort of walked away from it because at a younger age, I got very interested in Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, Soto Zen, which is very quiet, very formal. And I loved it, but I was too young, and I moved away from that. And from then on, I really just focused on writing and trying to figure out what I wanted to do in the world, because, I came from a family, I'm first generation college. And so I had that sort of ambition there. And then, everything just kept on happening. But alongside of this, I think for many people, there was always this part of myself who was deeply engaged in meditation, would attend workshops, though I would not, I noticed things creeping into my life as a professor and teacher in terms of the way I taught. But it seemed to develop alongside that. And then as I became administrator and was doing a lot of traveling because I was traveling international to develop programs in countries that were what we call in a process of democracy, some form. And so a lot of these countries were just opening up to foreigners. And, in a couple, I had the opportunity to really be there. But I also everywhere I went, I found myself going to temples, going and connecting with the spiritual life, the religious life of the culture very deeply. And that just kept on growing. And then I was literally on an airplane and sitting in, not a glamorous story, but it's the way it occurred for me, sitting on tarmac in DC, and I was getting ready. I had just come from Kyrgyzstan, and I was getting ready to fly back up to New York, and I was on this little plane, and all of a sudden I heard a voice that said, "Get off the plane." And I was like, huh? What's this, And then I realized no one was speaking. Then I heard it again, "Get off the plane."
Oh my.
And I thought, and so I started, I was like, well, wait a minute, I can't get off the plane. If I get off the plane, someone's gonna ask why. And if I say, well, something's wrong, it's, all chaos is gonna ensue. And so that was the first time. And so I made a deal. I just said, look, I can't get off the plane without everyone else getting off the plane. So whatever happens on this plane, I'm on this plane. And I said, I don't know how to do this, because if I say something to the rest of the people on the plane, the airline people are going to think I'm crazy and causing problems. So that literally was the first time. And I just said, okay, I'm putting my trust in you. And they said, okay, well, what we'd like to give you a year. And then we'd really, really like you to step into what you came here for. And I thought, ooh, and then it was fine. We flew up to Albany, but the weird thing was people got off the plane and they would walk by me and say thank you. And I'd be sitting there going, huh? Having no idea what was, I was so,
wow.
So that was the first one. Then about 2 weeks later, I had a flat on the George Washington Bridge, of all places, going into New York City.
Yikes.
And within 5 minutes, this Port Authority person came up and said, stay in your car. And completely, they said, is your, extra tire in the back? And I said, yes. So I closed, and then I heard the voice again, take out paper and please write. And so I did for, 10 pages. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to be so late for my meeting. This is crazy. I'm going to be late. And what was crazy, the guy came back and said, okay, ma'am, you're ready to go. And I said, wow, okay, what do I owe you? Usually there's a cost for everything. And he just looked at me and smiled. No, this one's on me. And I got into Midtown, and I went to the building, went up to the 5th floor, and I was the first one there. And I thought, no way. No way. There was still 15 minutes until the meeting was to start. And it really just profoundly moved me beyond anything. Wow. And later, when I went to reread what I'd written, I was like, oh, wow, and it really moved me. And 6 months later, I gave my notice. And by then I was, the the last years of my academic life, I was actually an associate vice president for the college. And so walking away was a lot.
Yeah.
And if you would ask me a year before that, or 2 years, or 5 years, I would have looked at you and said, "Oh, you're crazy. I love my work." And that's what I say now. I say, I love my work until it stopped, that particular work. And I've never had a regret. But that literally is how I really stepped into becoming more conscious and saying, this is what I need to focus on now. I don't know where it's leading me. I don't know really even truthfully what's going on. I thought for a while there, I thought maybe I need to go talk to somebody. And then I happened to be mentoring with Lee Harris, and it was like, you're fine, relax. You know, just give yourself time and just listen. You've got an opportunity here to be still, you know. And so I did. So for 2 years, I did nothing but basically be still. And then, of course, I had the opportunity to be with my mother in her last year of life. And it just all seamlessly moved forward in ways that I could never have imagined. So that's
So many
the
questions come out of
big,
that.
that's the big
Yeah,
curve,
it's
you know.
big. It's big. I mean, first of all, I know it doesn't matter now, but my curiosity is getting the best of me to get off that plane. And then you didn't. And you said, you're just going to have to get me and everybody else there. Did you circumvent some sort of tragedy by standing in your sovereignty and staying on that plane?
I have no idea, but what I think about that moment, and the best thing that I have come to realize is that I realized in that moment it wasn't just about me. It wasn't about me. So it wasn't an act. I don't even know if I can call it an act of sovereignty. All I know in that moment is that, there was a woman. And the crazy thing about that whole moment was I could see everyone. The woman next to me, an older woman, I was like, "Oh, you just came to see from seeing your two grandsons. You have twin grandsons." And I just knew. And the stewardess, the hostess, I looked at her and I was like, "Your mom's not mad at you. She's just worried, is all. But she's not mad at you." I just knew this stuff, and it
Oh
was
boy.
just all of a sudden I could really see. And, I was, because I was mentoring with someone at that time too, they said, yeah, when this occurs, it opens wide, you're seeing. And then you begin to be able to work with it. It closes down and then slowly opens up again in ways that you can, it's like an eye, the iris of an eye. But at that moment, for whatever reason, who knows why? Who knows? Who knows why that moment? I have no idea. But the closest thing that I can understand for me in that moment, and making the decision I did, was no, these are human beings. This is not about just saving me. And
Well, and the fact that some people were getting off saying thank you to you, there was something
later,
opening up for them too, it
yeah,
feels like.
yeah. And I had no idea. I mean, literally a man came Allannah put his hand right there, and he just looked down and he said, "Thank you." And I was like, "Who are you?" I have no idea who you are.
Wow.
I have no idea. By that time, I was so, um, you know, we had a little bit of a rough flight. And so I was thinking, who knows what they're saying thank you for, But by the time I got in my vehicle and was driving back to my place, I was like, you need to rest. you know, that's what I was saying to myself is, you know,
Wow.
because I'd
Wow.
never had anything quite like that before experience.
Yeah, that's pretty profound.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what's on the 10 pages of stuff that you wrote in your car on the bridge? What was coming through for you?
Really, it was the first time I heard the words embodiment guide.
Mm,
I heard that and they said, whatever you do, it's you, they literally gave me that phrase, conscious embodiment guide. That's what you're going to do. Now, however you do that is going to be up to you. But it really is about embodiment. And I'm going to be honest again and say, I've always kept that, always, but I didn't fully realize what it meant for a good while. You know,
yeah.
I just didn't quite, it hadn't landed yet, you know. And at that time, that was around 2017, 2016. A lot of people weren't using that phrase, you know, and we are now because we understand now. But I just kept it there thinking, okay, and the mindful heart, those are the two things that came through. And they basically were just talking to me about time and openness and um, just about being caught in limitation and not understanding that we're more expansive than our form, that we're always going to have a certain density being in form. Um, that, and they said many times, and it's another thing that I hear myself saying a lot, is that we're safe. We're safe.
Mm,
We're safe. You are safe. You are safe. You know, and
wow.
yeah.
And
So
that's a biggie, I think, right now, because even if you feel like you are embodied
mhm.
and living a heart-centered life, it's still pretty easy to look at what's going on in the outside world.
Yep.
Whether you watch news or not, and watching news, probably you do, you're fearful every day, but I don't watch any television anymore, but yet I see enough things to go, ooh,
Yeah.
what is going to happen here? You know, and to know that you
I'm
are safe is so
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that has to do with our ideas of, the to me and what I've come to understand is everything we're going through in this process of what I call evolutionary consciousness is letting go of fear, letting go of fear and letting go of the structural ideas that keep us attached and bound to fear and lack. I know that's a big statement and we could unpack that for a long time,
Yeah.
but I think a lot about that, and it was interesting this morning. I always listen in case there's a message that they just sort of want me to put out. And And the thing that came to me this morning, it was something I hadn't thought about for a long time, but it's called The Angel of History by Walter Benjamin. He's a philosopher. And the angel of history is looking backwards at the past.
Mm.
And and this is about everything we're going through right now, is letting the past go and and turning into the present moment. Most of us have been caught in structures, ideas, psychologies, the way we operate in the world that are all based in the past. They've been around for a long time. And we're asked to come into the present moment so we can actually look to a different future. And that's why I know that this feeling of we're safe, we're safe, we're safe, even though things are what we might say falling apart, though they like to say they're not falling apart, they're being deconstructed.
I like that.
Because you cannot build the new on the old foundation, which no longer is stable, no longer is equitable, no longer is loving and gracious. Everything that, we're aspiring, not even aspiring, we're moving into.
Yeah. And you need that chaos for all of it to fall apart.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's hard to stay in that mindset of just being the observer without getting emotionally tied into it. It's
yeah.
really a work in progress.
Oh boy, is it, I got up yesterday. Was it yesterday morning? Or maybe 2 mornings ago, and I remember I sat down on my zafu and I was meditating, and all of a sudden I had that angel's moment. Well, who are you? What are you going to call yourself? And it was like, whoa, wait a minute. You're fine. You don't have to be anybody. You're exactly who you are. You don't need a label. You don't, because everything is those structures, I like to say structures of ideas are all collapsing. And it's hard. We've never
Yeah.
been here before. So, we got to be kind to ourselves and compassionate, really compassionate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I had my friend on last week, Anne, and we talked about something similar to where to just, you don't need the labels, you don't need to be something. And think about, what kind of legacy might you leave on this earth? Not a legacy of fame or money, but a legacy of the heart.
Yeah. A legacy of being,
Yes.
of being. I think a lot of us have, for all of the benefits of Eastern ideas and everything, there are also things that the West has adopted and kind of become popularized. So we think to become nothing or emptiness, there's nothing there, right? And we don't know how to grasp that because it's impossible. I love what Alan Watts says. He said, has said, nature abhors a vacuum. For years and years, we thought, well, we're all connected, but yeah, there's all this empty space. Well, we know now that empty space is not empty. It's the energetic field, it's the etheric, it's why we can connect with each other. It's why we can connect telepathically and know things that people look at and go, how do you know that?
Yeah.
I just know it, because yeah. And that's where we're headed, more and more of us, all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the crowd that I'm hanging out with now, but I find that what you just described, they're happening more and more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we come into co-resonance. When we come into resonance and we come into that co-resonance, you know, we allow ourselves access to the other, whatever that other is. It can be a tree, it can be a person, it can be a situation. And suddenly we know things that we couldn't have before, but we're in an energetic resonance. We're not in a relationship that looks to control, manipulate, maneuver. It's just total allowance, acceptance, resonance, without judgment. As soon as we come into judgment, we go into separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I've noticed something strange lately, and it's going to be super hard for me to describe, but and I'm wondering if maybe you've had similar experiences or some of the people that you've been working with have had similar experiences, but it's like in the past week or so, it's like when I'm out doing my tasks, my human tasks and things, I feel very much like I'm riding outside of myself, like right here, and just kind of like watching this make believe
yeah,
unfold in front of me. Does that make sense?
it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. The mindful heart says, look, you're larger than your form. You're larger than your physical form, but your form gives you density and holds you here. Your ideas about separation have kept you in this kind of limitation that you couldn't have this experience of knowing, viewing this other level, what you might call dimension. And they like to say, look, you're having everyone is having multidimensional experiences all the time anyway. You dream,
Yeah.
you leave your body because you're not in limitation of your body. You don't, your body's still there. They say you can do that in waking, you know, but you have this idea. When you become conscious, you become very, what you call rational and linear, and that's not a possibility. They say memory is another good example. Suddenly, you may be standing at the window doing the dishes and you're flooded with this emotion, and you're literally standing on the beach with someone that you had a special moment with, or maybe a difficult grief or whatever, and it completely overtakes you psychologically, mentally, emotionally, even while you're in another dimension of knowing. They said those are the ones that you're comfortable with and familiar with. You're coming into a space now, a level of consciousness where you're growing more familiar, comfortable with other levels of connection and experience on other dimensions. And they say your soul is having experience. Yeah, they're saying, go ahead and say this. Your soul is having experiences on multi dimensions anyway. It is
Yeah.
always active, but we are becoming more conscious, aware of this if we allow ourselves, as you were saying, to feel it. It's this, but it's feeling based, it's experiential, it's not thinking based.
Yeah.
But our mind has to allow ourselves to feel it.
Now, I imagine you've received messages like many have that this is going to be another rough year, if not rougher than the ones we've already had. How do we should just be centered in the now and being observers, but sometimes that's very challenging when we're in our human suit. How can we best navigate what's coming this year, and what have you received knowledge wise of what is ahead of us?
Well, I'm going to start with this because back in last spring and through the summer, I just kept on hearing March, March. I'm not an astrologer, so I would not, I just
Yeah.
know the basics. I kind of do the basics, right? The big stuff. And, I really depend on others. But I kept on hearing March is going to be big. And it's going to open up and it's going to it's going to be big. And we're not totally going to be able to integrate all of this until by the end of the year.
Mm.
Many of us are going to really start feeling and expressing and being the difference in November. It, because what they're saying is that, we've opened up a new um, kind of what some people call an energetic template. And I just like to say we've brought more of ourselves online. Okay.
That makes
Um,
sense.
we've brought more of ourselves. We're bringing more of ourselves back to us. We're allowing more of ourselves to be present and not be obscured by all these ideas of should, oughta, have to. This is the way it's been and always has been. Why are you trying to be different? Instead, you just go, well, this is what I'm feeling. This is what feels right. This is my knowing. Oh, yeah, right. And they're saying it's going to take that long, and it's okay because if we suddenly, it's like some people say that have thought there was going to be a big flash, for a
Yeah.
long time. And they say, well, that's not going to happen because if that happened, you all would sit around and drool and be blinded. How did you live? The universe loves you. Consciousness, source consciousness, the divine loves you all far too much for that, because you are an expression of that knowing. So we get little bits, and I'm grateful for the little bits because, wow, there are some days when I'm just bowled over.
Yeah.
And, we're letting go of stuff. We're letting go of stuff from, they constantly say, look, you're letting go of stuff from lifetimes and lifetimes. And many of you think that you're young souls. There are young souls, but many of you who are, i.e., what you call light workers, way showers, who are, very conscious of what's occurring, are like souls that are 350,000 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're letting go of a lot. And so they say, you're not going to understand it all. And they said, that's the hardest thing is you experience an emotion and you want to ascribe it to something. And if you could just allow yourself to experience the emotion and just say, instead of saying, I am sad, saying, I'm experiencing sadness and I have no idea why. And, be able to say that to someone and have them go, oh, I'm so sorry. And just be here, and just be, we can be that easy. And the other thing is, they give me 4 words just before I was sitting in meditation, kind of before. And they actually gave me 4 words, and they're 4 words I use a lot anyway, but they sort of reiterated, and they said, allow, surrender, and remember that you're not surrendering to any outside force. You're surrendering to you. You're surrendering to the truth of who you are, to your true self, your true being. That's all you're surrendering to, not to someone outside of you. They often say, if you feel like you have to surrender to some teaching coming from somewhere, leave. Because either you're not, or ignore it. Either you're just simply not ready to hear it, you'll hear it on your own, or, someone's asking something of you that they shouldn't be asking of you. So, and then they say trust and faith, but they say those words are very much in this, where we are, the same thing. Trust, I trust you, I have faith in you. I trust this process, I have faith in it. We're uncomfortable with not knowing, but faith is big.
Yeah. So there's really nothing we need to be doing
other than just surrendering to ourselves and being in the authenticity of who we are.
Yeah.
And they say, yeah, some days that's hard. Some days you run into that old moment when you're sitting on your soft room going, who am I? I need a title. What have I done? And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Just go, it's okay, Allannah. It's all right. I see you. I hear you. I say speak to yourself. Talk to yourself a lot. Doesn't matter what other people think. And I find that I do talk to myself a lot. And it's very helpful.
Yeah.
And
I have conferences with my cat. So,
yeah.
And he loves to be in your energy. He's, every time I'm on here, if there's somebody with some really good vibes, he shows up.
Well, my dog Ruby just showed up too.
Aww.
So it's always a sign. She's like, okay, I'm here. They actually showed up at the same time. Yeah.
They're good energetic service companions, aren't they?
Oh man, I don't know what I often say she's my heart.
Yep, I say that about my cat too. It's like, what would I do? I don't know what I'd do without him.
Yeah, I don't know. She's brilliant. She really is. And yeah, so, and the other thing is to be kind to our body. We really, I think about this a lot because lately I've been thinking about structures a lot. The structures we live in, most people live in jobs and everything like that. Many of these structures don't allow for the kind of kindness and care we need to be giving to our bodies at this time.
Yeah. There seems to be some pretty heavy energies coming through. I've had a few friends say that they're just knocked on their butts the past few days.
We just had a huge geomagnetic storm on the 23rd and 24th. We've had as intense as it was. I heard we had one 6 years ago, but it was like for 10 minutes. This went on for hours. And I was fine. And then yesterday, I just literally got bowled over. And it was interesting because it's doing a lot of work. There was a moment when suddenly late in the afternoon, finally, it was like whatever it was that was being lifted out, being transmuted, being shifted, it just lifted. And literally just I had this cold rush of air come off my body. It was, and I thought, wow, this geomagnetic storm was huge for us. It wiped people out.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. That's not something else. That's we're connected to the earth, and it's all happening in common, shared,
And we're going to be getting these all the time going forward, right? They're just going to get more intense. Or are we going to ever get some relief?
We are moving into, we're always going to have higher. It's going to shift up a little higher. But we have periods when, okay, I'm going to say this in two ways. There are periods of time like this. Last week, we had Pluto going into Aquarius. We have Saturn in Pisces. We have, I think, Jupiter in Aries, all of that just really coming into play. And all of those are accentuating all of this, right? And so we have moments like that. But what happens is that also everybody becomes familiar with that shift, that energetic. And so we actually experience more because we go, okay, and we all kind of collectively, take a deep breath in and go, okay, let's change. Let's take this on. Let's do this. It's happening anyway. But by being consciously aware of it and being connected to our inner being, we're accelerating that. And then we go back in between these lulls where we have ups and downs, and it's still happening. But we all, that resonance, that collective mind, that collective consciousness is very powerful. And that exponentiates the experience, makes it that much stronger, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. Now,
but we are going to go up. We're going to keep going up, and
this process too is going to be a long, drawn out process, is it not? Because I think a lot of people, like you alluded to the flash earlier, oh, we'll have a flash and then we'll move on and we'll be in our new earth. And, it's like, kind of feels like it's going to be doing this for quite some time. What's your sense on that?
We're in for it for a while. I mean, how long is Pluto in Aquarius? 24 years?
Oh, geez.
Okay. I mean,
great.
But here's the thing too. Okay. We are. And lately they've been alluding to the fact too, because everybody's in with fifth dimension, there's going to be no more war. And they're going, well, let's be honest about this. You've had war for thousands of years. You thought it was right. You are in the residual effects of having that belief, having that structure. So that's going to be with you for a while. I got 4 generations. Other people have got 300 years. People that I trust who are channelers, and it's going to be for a while. But we are waking up to, it's not, we can't do it. We can't have any more war. It's absurd.
Yeah.
But that they say, that's gonna necessitate then each and every one of you, because when you speak of the collective, you have to remember that the collective is the collective only by virtue of every individual experience in common.
Mm.
So each of you also has to look at all the conflict inside yourself.
Yeah.
That contributes to that energy.
And if we don't, it's gonna hit us over the head.
Yeah. Well, I'm of the faith that we are. We are.
Yeah.
We are. I really people who don't even know what's going on, I see change. We're all in it. No one's left behind. No one.
Yes.
And we're all in it, and everyone is changing. They may not realize it, or they may not understand it. They may not speak our language, but everyone's going through it. And I'm surprised. Sometimes someone will come up to me and go, I heard you talk about this. I've never thought that I would believe anything, but I'm beginning to think it's real. That, I'm going, oh, okay. I would just like, okay. And that's, yeah. So it is happening. People may not speak our language, but everybody's experiencing it.
Yeah.
It really is,
So your counterparts when you were a professor and folks that you worked with, what did they think of you now and what you're doing?
It's funny. And I say this with deep love and affection, because I love my work and everything. And then I was done. I don't know what a lot of people think. I know that I have not heard from a lot of people that I thought I would stay connected with.
Yeah.
And then other people are like, oh, that really helps. Thank you. And I'm like, oh, I would have never imagined, So you never know. You
Yeah.
never know who you're talking to, who, and we don't. There was something else they want me to say when we were talking about this long haul.
Yes.
And going into the fifth dimension, and now they also say, but yes, there are people living in the fifth dimension, in the 3D. You don't leave the physical time. So there's this whole range, and you become multidimensional.
Yeah. And it's kind of just a kind of a ebb and flow in and out, and is how I perceive it. It's not like you go from here and now you're here and you don't ever go back down here.
No, that's something they say too. You think going to 5D, you're never gonna get angry again, or you're never gonna have grief or sadness. And they're like, no. You're gonna have those experiences, but your relationship to them is so very different.
Yes, that's it exactly.
For a long time, I didn't understand this. And they said, your emotions are data. It's part of the technology of your being. They're giving you information. That's all. You feel them, and that because, when you're connected to your heart, they're giving you information. They're not there for us to be judgmental about. They're not. Why, they say, if you could stop judging the emotions and experience you have inside of you, how much easier it would be to stop judging others. But
Yes.
because we think anger is bad, or we have a moment when we go, ooh, and then we catch ourselves and go, oh, all right, okay. We walk ourselves out of that prior conditioning. We don't need to turn around and go, bad Allannah.
Yeah.
And I'm one that, has done that, a lot. And I'm working on just going, it's okay. Walk yourself out of it and be thankful, be grateful.
Well, just the awareness is huge. That you even like threw out a judgment or did whatever you did, and go, whoa, did I just do that? Oh, okay, course correct.
Yeah, it's huge. That is huge. You're right. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So you've shared some really beautiful insights from your guides today. Do you want to do some more channeling, or would you like to walk everybody through a meditation, or what? Is there anything you feel like sharing with everyone out there?
One of maybe let's see, we have about 10 minutes.
You have as much time as you want, my dear.
Okay. Maybe what I'd like to do is just to allow them to walk us through a kind of visualization. They said that can be very, very helpful for us. Wonderful. And also help us, the many who are going through changes, to understand how to rely on their own inner direction. So maybe we can do that.
That sounds perfect.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and close my eyes for a moment and just invite them in. Kuyatama tindiaba utsikitihana o kutirama. Yes, we are so, so very grateful to be here. So very grateful for each and every one of you in your presence. What we would like to ask you at this moment to guide you through is to ask you to come back to you. We know we have Allannah say this many, many times, come back to you. But we say to you, there is no more powerful act to be able to bring you back into rest, into certainty, into love, and into compassion for who you are, the truth of who you are. So we ask you all to take a deep breath in and exhale. Take another deep breath in and exhale. Now we would like for you to imagine, if you would, that you are, let us say, sitting or standing in a nice area, perhaps outside. And all we would like you to do is to put down all those identities of who and what you think you are. Simply put down on the ground and allow it to be there, knowing it's there, that you can pick it back up. Simply put down those relationships, identities that you are: mother, father, son, daughter, sister, sibling. Just put it on the ground. we ask you to put down those labels of which you've identified yourself with: teacher, artist, writer, engineer, or even those labels, the one who was abandoned just momentarily, the one who never gets his or her way, the one who is in fear, or the one who does not have enough, or the one who achieved this or that. We ask you, just for this moment, to place it on the ground around you, spread it out all around you. Place it, and for a moment, allow yourself just simply to be. Just set it all down. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And feel how expanded, how much lighter. Feel the nature of you, with none of these obstructions, none of these labels. Spill into your inner being, your energetic body, and know that it's safe, that you are beautiful, without the need, without the pressure of being something other than who you are. And now we would like to ask for you to simply imagine seeing those objects of those relationships all around you. Just observe them. Notice which ones are still have an energetic brightness or charge to them. And you will see this. And we say to you, you may not experience this or see this the first time, but as you do this, you will begin to really feel the vibrational pull of an object, a relationship, a job, situation, a place, an identity you've had, an activity. The one who did this, the one who's always done that, the caretaker, the people pleaser. Just set it all down. Some of these, if you begin to look at them, you will notice they will begin to recede into the ground. And allow them to do this, for they are not going away. For as you know, you come through experience in a spiral, and as you go deeper, they may rise again. But for this moment, you may no longer need that. Energetically, you may be pulled into a new direction, something over here, the one thing that you've been aspiring towards, wishful, wanting. There it is, a little brighter. We say to you, look at all of these things and allow them to be. None of these are you. They're tools of expression. Let us say that again. They are tools of expression, but they are not you, dear ones. They are not you and the truth of who you are, the beautiful, beautiful light being, the expression of you that is infinite, timeless, expansive. So as you look at these things, as you Be with them. There's a moment to be able to see and feel your relationship to these roles, identities, and begin to understand how you often pick them up and set them down. It is only when you realize in your day-to-day lives that you suddenly want to change that you begin to hold on to something tighter and do not know where to turn. You're unsure where you are being called. But if you know it's only a tool of expression and that it's there, you may pick them up, any one, in any combination, new combination, and add something or take something away. You see, life, this living of your life, is creative. You are here to co-create, to create. You are here to create, to play. And through that playing, expression, using those tools of expression that you may pick up and then set down. We give you this. So during those times when you realize that you may want to make a change, especially those of you who have been at this time period who have been doing light work, healing, and other things for some time, many of you will be called to new things on your identity. You will call in your identity, question who you are, as much as the one who simply sets down a role that is more what you may say is more traditional. But we say all of these are tools of expression for the creative being that you are. And you are infinitely creative. And new tools of expression, skills that you have had for many lifetimes, will be are arriving into your presence. And that they will ask you to set down other identities, other tools of expression. And we would like this to be not a difficult process for you, but one of creative play, of joy, even as those around you may question and say, well, you can't do that. What about me? You see, it is the fear of being left behind. It is the fear of being left behind that perpetuates questions and doubt or fear from others. But you leave no one behind. They will arise again. You are always connected. But now is the time to master your own creative energy and to use and to select those identities, tools of expression. They are not the truth of who you are. They are tools of expression. To begin to play with those in new combinations, in new ways. And as you do this and look at all of those objects that represent those, some will shine, some will recede into the ground, and you'll know which ones to pick up, which ones to allow to rest, And it is a resting. We would like you to know that it is a resting. You need not fear loss. Everything that identity has given you becomes you in your expression. So we ask you to take a deep breath in and exhale. And even now, perhaps you recognize one or two things that you might let rest. One or two things that pop out in more light in front of you. And just be with those for a moment. Allow yourself to pick it up. We say to you, if you practice this, it would be so much easier to trust, to navigate your own desired, your own path, your own way forward, your own creative manifestation. For that is what each of you are here for, to express the unique signature vibration of which you are. Each of you, wholly unique, wholly beautiful, having everything that you need. So we ask you once more to take a deep breath in and exhale. And we say to you, this time of great change, you are safe. You are safe. You are safe. You are far more than anything that you could imagine. You are so beautiful, so powerful, and so creative. And we wish you all so very, very much, and know that we are here. So many, many, many are here for each and every one of you to call upon at any time. For it is true, you have not been here before. And that, dear ones, is a blessed joy, something to celebrate, experience with joy and excitement. Even as things are set down, deconstructed, simply they're set down, deconstructed, so you may bring forth new creation. Once more, we are very, very grateful for your presence. And blessings to you all. You are here. You are here. You are here to make all things new. Kuyatama, iatama kotanta, liata kata hondo, hurikitinamo, hoyata, futa. Okay, and just take a deep breath in.
That was incredible. So beautiful.
The first time they had a group do that, everybody was like, the first time you do it. But I've come to do it a lot, and it's amazing. After a while, you really see, I really start to see things light up, and other things that I can go, I can just let that be there. And let it be there without attending to it. And it feels so much more creative. So
This would be perfect for a regular practice. So
It
perfect.
is. They intend it as a regular practice. Even they say even sometimes during a day in the morning you can go through it very quickly. What do I need to what really do I need to attend to today or this week or the next, it's very helpful. And it builds that sense of inner compass, inner direction, rather than looking out and going, oh, should I do that? Should I do that? You know?
So perfect. Wow. Um, okay. Well, I'm going to put your information below for everybody, but if you have something going on right now that you'd like to share with everyone, any programs or anything?
I like many people, I have been in a transition of work and redefining that. So I'm finding that what I really enjoy doing is working with people more than one or two sessions in embodied um, as an embodied consciousness guide. And though it's not up, but it'll be up in 3 days, I have a new series of channeled sessions. Will be up in 3 days on my website. And those will be 5-week long series of channeled sessions. And the first one is navigating what they call difficult times,
So perfect.
help giving people tools and ways to navigate it consciously, even though it feels like they're going out into the world and going, yeah, but I still am in this structure that is causing me this pain and feels so constricting because I have to feed my family, or and they get that. So how do we help bring expansion into that? So
Lovely. And your website is?
uh AllannahCapwell.com.
All right.
Then my
Beautiful.
name and .com.
All right. Allannah, thank you so much for today. Wow. What a
Love,
beautiful, expansive conversation. I just love it.
lovely. It's been lovely to meet you and speak with you. Yeah, to hold this energy and space with you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who joins us on here now and later. Alrighty. Bye bye, everybody.